We are. Yes, we are. Hi, guys. We're here with this beautiful friend of mine, Lauren Fields. She's the founder of Fields. Well, Lauren blends evidence-based cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. I want to hear more about that soon. Positive psychology and mindfulness techniques in her coaching practice at the Fields Well Studio, coming soon. Helping clients reframe limiting beliefs, cultivate self-awareness, and build resilience. Wow. She also hosts the Feels Well podcast, where she shares transformational life strategies for personal and professional growth, extending her impact beyond one-on-one coaching. I want to read one more thing. Bear with me. She's impressive. Lauren's expertise has been featured in Authority Magazine, SD Weekly, LA Tribune, and Thrive Global, but she was also on TEDx. The space between falling and getting back on the horse. Oh my God, I can't wait to hear this story. Which garnered over 50,000 views, highlights her powerful story of overcoming traumatic brain injury, TBI, and insights on resilience and self-reinvention, grounded in her master's work in psychology. She has spoken on numerous stages and virtual panels, including LA Tribune's Leadership Week, with over 1.7 million viewers, passionately advocating for personal development and transformation. Wow. Tell us your
It's a
story.
mouthful. Hi, listeners. Hi, Kat. Thank you for having me on. You know what's funny is we actually met for the first time in person at the Las Vegas airport a couple of months back when I was arriving for Risk on 360, and it was so sweet. Kat came to pick me up at the airport with our mutual friend, Samantha Peters, and it was such an amazing introduction and first moment of really being on this same journey together, and look what it's led to.
And you bought me the Raiders hat. I was like,
Yes.
oh, it's so sweet.
So we took Kat to her first football game. We went to a Raiders game in Vegas, and it's a sign that you can mix fun with business.
Yes. Oh, that was the best. And the seats so close to the football players. I was like, what is happening? That was the best first football
It really was.
introduction.
It's going to be hard to beat.
Yes. Yeah, I'm probably not going to go to another one. There's no way I'm going all the way up there with the presents all the way up.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that was amazing. Such a great introduction.
It was a blast. So, and I was telling you that the last time I had been at the Vegas airport was when I was flying out after giving my TEDx talk. And so much had happened in between then and now. And that was only a matter of maybe 13, 14 months. And I think that TEDx talk was the first moment of me like opening up about my story. And I weaved in, my horse accident, my traumatic brain injury when I was 14 years old. I was competing in show jumping. I had ridden since I was 6 years old, a young girl. It was my life force, my passion. It taught me so much about resilience, about following your dream. And I was in a tragic accident, and I woke up 3 days later from a coma with a traumatic brain injury. And what I didn't know at that point is that that would be a story, an experience that would pave the way for my obsession and fascination with personal development, self-improvement, the whole thing, and wanting to help others overcome adversity.
Yes, you can't beat that story. Like you can't top that story. For someone, like if I were to need a psychologist, I would come to you because man,
Hey girl, we're opening up shop in San Diego. And I think what's important for our listeners to get with this is like, doctors had limiting beliefs about my future. And at 14 to hear things like, don't go, keep Lauren out of school. She may have trouble with memory retention, difficulty learning, have to relearn how to speak, may not be able to walk correctly. Like when you're given this like information about what your future is going to be like, it doesn't sound very bright. And if I would have believed that, my life would be vastly different than it is now. But thankfully, I had a supportive, loving family who believed in me, and I had a resilient mindset that I said, that's not going to be my story.
Tell me about the coma. What was it? Do you remember anything from that?
Yeah. So I'm almost like, it's interesting because you wonder like, oh my gosh, what would that be like to be in a coma or to have a traumatic brain injury or to have a fall that like causes that severe of an impact? The good news is like, I don't remember any of it. Like, I don't remember the painful parts. I don't remember how hard I hit my head because instantly I was knocked out, like lights out, was flown in a helicopter to the hospital. Wouldn't wake up. And so during that 3-day period, what I started to remember as I started to regain consciousness, I had this memory of like each time I would wake up, it was almost as if I was coming back to life from like age 0. Like each time I was like, okay, I was like 6 years old, or I was like 12 years old, or I was like, I was reliving kind of like each time I woke up or started to like regain consciousness, I was a little bit older, and it was almost like I was like rebooting from 0 to 14. And the first memory I had was opening my eyes. I still had an oxygen tube in my throat. And my dad was in the chair next to me asleep, holding my show jacket and competition number. And I looked at him and I was like, I think my arms were like tied to the bed. I had a tube down my throat and I was like, what had happened? Get me out of this, get this out of my throat. And that was like my first memory coming back to life.
Ooh, so trichotomy. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see a scar on your
No, it was just through my throat. It was an
Oh,
oxygen
oh, okay.
tube.
They didn't
Yeah, yeah,
count.
yeah.
Okay, there was
No,
no.
no.
Okay. Whew, I was like,
Yeah.
man. Oh, wow. And I can't imagine what your parents went through. Oh
Yeah.
my
I mean,
gosh.
my mom, it's funny. My mom's like, your dad was a basket case. I had to tell him, like, get out of this room. We need really good, healing, calm, loving energy around Lauren during this time.
Wow. No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, especially 14 years old. I hope you guys sued somebody out there.
But it's just a freak accident. And what it shows is like life can change in an instant. And what I've realized is so many of us are taking this moment for granted. So many of us think we are going to be here 100 more years, for 100 years, what have you. Like, I have time, or I have time to hold a grudge against this person, or I have time to not be happy about what's happened in my life. But like, life is now and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So it's so important to start to like be grateful about what you do have now.
Right. That experience, when you look back, did that make you feel like I need to do more good?
Yeah.
I need to.
So, I mean, I think, I was young. I was 14 years old. I had no idea at the time what it meant to have a traumatic brain injury. I kind of wanted to sweep it under the rug and not talk about it because I had felt like this serious event had happened to me and I didn't want the spotlight on me. I didn't want people wondering if I was okay. I just wanted things to be normal. But now I realize it completely did. My family said, like, prior to that accident, I was very much like, I don't need anyone. I can do everything on my own, like, stay out of my way kind of attitude. And after it happened, I realized I needed people's help. Like, there were more months that I had brain fog after it. I've had certain neurological symptoms that are still with me to this day, side effects from the traumatic brain injury. And so I think it made me softer, more empathic, because I could be like, well, again, look what can happen. And like, we need each other.
Yes. Oh, that is so true. And I study law, so it's always something, there's always that whenever I hear about incidents or accidents or anything like
Yeah.
that, like, I wonder how that plays out, because it's not the horse's fault, right? You can't
Right.
sue the horse,
No.
but you can't, I mean, how did that
Well,
end?
again, you want to blame. So often we want to blame someone else, but like, I have to take responsibility. Like, that horse listened to my command. And because I was like, let's go to leave for the jump now, he went for it. So again, he could have stopped and been like, no, too far away. He listened to me. He jumped. We were a little too far away. And there you have it. But it's again a freak accident. You have to take accountability. I don't want to blame anyone else. I want to say that was my right or error.
Dude, that's why you're freaking impressive, because most people, they don't have the locus of control. They're always blaming others. So you
Yeah.
know, freaking horse. You're
Again,
like, nope.
you want to take your power back so you can move beyond it. And it's so important to like rewrite the story you're telling yourself about what happened in your life, because that is so freeing to be like, okay, I learned from that. I'm going to take more caution next time. But again, sometimes things are just like out of your control and there really is no one to blame besides just like an off event.
Yeah, I think so. Is that why you're getting into the psychology? Is that
It
why?
is. I think from that moment, I've been fascinated by the science behind human behavior, why we do what we do. I started to, study health and wellness coaching, life coaching, yoga teacher training. And then I
Wow.
was like, I want to learn more. I really want to like earn the right to help individuals recover, to become better. And I felt like psychology was the missing link. I studied business undergrad And I realized I was just fascinated with psychology and I didn't give it enough attention undergrad. And so I was like, I want to go for my master's in psych. And I just finished that program last year and it has completely transformed me. And I'm so grateful for the learnings. And I can't wait to share, through the podcasting, through the speaking. And I feel like it's applicable in every part of your life to really understand how we operate inside as humans.
Right. And would you also go for the PhD, you think, maybe
I would
eventually?
love to go for a doctorate in neuroscience at some point. I really would.
I could totally see that for you.
Dr. Fields, it sounds good.
Yes, the hot female version. Yeah. That is the one right there. Yes, can you imagine? That is a very fulfilling life to do
It
that.
is. I mean, to understand how we operate as human beings at like a super high level is fascinating to me.
Yeah. And what would be your ideal patient?
I mean, I literally am like, I want to help individuals who maybe, I think we all have so much untapped potential. So it's someone who's like, help me become more. Or I have this vision, but I can't get there. What are some steps or strategies I could take to help me get there? I like these individuals who are always like, okay, what's next? Or like that either have a really like big vision for themselves or want help developing one.
Okay, so some ambition. They have to have
Mm-hmm.
some type of
I
drive.
like ambition. If you can't make someone do the work. If they don't want to come to the coaching office, you can't drag them in and make them do or employ the skill sets you're trying to teach them. They have to be eager, ready to learn. They have to be ready to take action.
Right. What if you get a patient that's so messed up, he's been through such a rough, let's say, divorce, and
Mm-hmm.
now they, I don't know, bankruptcy, and you name it, and they're just depressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Like,
difficult, right? Like some individuals are more difficult than others, but I do believe it's what's so important to realize for anyone who's like around someone, say, who's really depressed, and they're like, it's nothing against you. That person is going through their own trauma, their own struggles, and to help shine a light on them and make them realize like you're
right,
keeping yourself stuck and
right.
there is a way out. And so helping shine the light on that, but it's not always easy. And I think there's a lot of like, so many of us are running around like operating on unconscious programming that has been instilled in us since we were like 4 years old, 5 years old, for maybe our parents were really depressed and they had limiting beliefs about us and it programmed us to go around not believing in ourselves. And we just attracted more of that because we're vibrating at a low frequency. And so it's really helping individuals like unlearn like all these learnings that have been stored in them about who they are and develop a more like optimistic mindset.
Right. And what would be your like what are some tips for individuals who feel stuck and are
Yeah.
struggling to find the light?
I think the first step would be like to become aware of your thoughts and the way that you treat yourself. And I like to say like you're already with the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with and that's you. So make sure that that relationship is a solid one because like when you love yourself and care for yourself and make decisions that help you feel good, life is amazing. It's when you start doubting yourself, it's when you start taking poor care of yourself, whether that's, not prioritizing your sleep, not prioritizing movement or eating junk food. Like your body feels that and it's just doing a disservice to yourself. And so for anyone who's struggling, for anyone who's struggling to see the light, I would say look inward and say like, how am I talking to myself? What thoughts am I allowing to like run on repeat? How am I taking care of myself?
Right. That is so true. What would be, say, somebody is doing all these right things, they're eating healthy meals, they're working out, they're meditating, all that,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't feel fulfilled because they haven't found their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
is that formula?
Yeah, I would say like the purpose is found in the pursuit of what you feel called to do. And I feel like you have to tune in and listen to like, what is my heart telling me? Like, so often we wait for someone else to tell us what our purpose or our calling is. Like, I waited for a while. Like, you hire all these coaches, like, oh, they're going to tell me what I should be doing. No one knows you better than you. So take accountability for who you are and what you decide to go after in this world, because there is a calling of your heart, and it is a disservice not to go after that, because there are individuals who need exactly what you can offer. There's no other you. And so you're going to start to feel that purpose or calling, and that like energy will come to you when you start pursuing it. And so often it's hard to take that first step. But I always say like purpose comes with what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. And sometimes like you have to be willing, like for example, I wanted to start a podcast for probably 5 years before I actually started it, because I was afraid of that awkward phase. There's always going to be an awkward phase of when you start something new, because you have to learn how to do it right. Becoming pro doesn't happen overnight. And so I had to get like comfortable being uncomfortable with, I know this isn't going to be amazing day one because I'm brand new at it, and that's okay.
And so many obstacles and so many things that you have to
Yeah.
learn before you get good.
Yeah, but you have to commit to that awkward phase. And that could be 2-3 years of being awkward. But then all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is amazing because I've like put in the reps. So you have to commit to like the learning period. And that comes with getting good at anything. You don't become pro overnight.
I think you also have to look at the signs. I feel like God is giving us signs, but we're just so much into our own things, into all these earthly things that we admit
Yeah.
to figure them out.
And here's a way to find out, like say you're scrolling on Instagram, or say you have someone that you're really inspired by. What are they doing? Because oftentimes you're like, and you can even feel like a little bit like envious or jealous of that person because they're living the life you want to live. You're just not taking the steps to get there. So when you feel that emotion, it's like, what is that person doing? Maybe they have something that you want, or they're like living the life that you want for yourself. That's a guide for you. Like maybe that's what you want to be doing, and how they're giving you a map on how to get there. Follow the map. What have they done?
So that's another interesting. Yeah, that's another good one. Who is someone that you look up to?
Sure. Emily Ford is someone I look up to. Big podcaster, speaker. She's done incredible things building a personal brand. She has the Fortify show. She has Fortify My Brand. I had her redo my personal brand. She spends a day with you, does a
Nice.
deep dive on your brand, goes through all your colors, your messaging, your pillars. And I think she's spot on with like having a personal brand is so important, that stays with you through life.
Very important. Yeah. The only thing is people get like, well, depends on, are we talking like colors and style? If you get stuck with that for too long, people, they get tired of that after a
Yeah.
while.
But the personal brand can evolve over time as you grow. It doesn't have to be fixed.
Exactly.
But it's again, like, who are you? Share who you are with the world. If you have a service, how are people going to know you have a service if you're not sharing about it, if you're not talking about it, if you're not showing up?
Yeah. And what about what happens to a person that is out here trying to be, it has multiple lives, basically, is living multiple lives. It has the entrepreneur brand, but then also can't talk too much about their personal life because they're also working for the government over here. So it's like, how do you balance all these things, and how exactly are you ever feeling like you're authentic in one, since you can't really truly be yourself
Are we
fully?
speaking personally here? I would say, like, again, come back to like, sure, if you legally can't be sharing something, like, you have to own that. And you have to be able to share what you're able to share. But I think ask yourself, it's like, what do I want to be known for? What is my audience resonating with? Like, what is okay for me to share? What do I feel comfortable sharing?
So many questions.
Yeah. But, and again, no one can answer that except for you.
Yeah. And sometimes you just have to wait it out for
Yeah.
the right moment, I
I
guess.
think timing is big too. But I would say, like, again, if there's something you really want to be sharing and you're legally allowed to share it, rip the band aid off. Like, it takes a lot of courage to show up in those like little black squares on Instagram.
Yeah.
But you never know who may need to hear the message you have to share today.
And what if for example, like one of the jobs, right? I do marketing for the government, one of the things. But I do that so much. Like, why would I also want to be a marketing person outside of work? So it's like, yeah, I love doing that. And I love the money because, it's creative and all that. But I want to do something else over here.
But let's reframe it, because look what you're doing over here. You're marketing yourself. You're marketing
Right.
your show. So use everything you're learning in the job that's perhaps bringing in financial freedom and
Yeah.
use what you're learning there, and how can you translate it into another platform and use it to elevate, say, your social media presence and your podcasting.
And what would be some secrets of building a personal brand for you?
Sure, I would say get really clear on like what's the message? What am I about? What are my pillars? Like for me, the pillars are mindset, lifestyle, and wellness. Like those are the main three things that I like speaking on. Who is the ideal client avatar? Like who do you want to be helping? Like get clear on like your messaging or pillars, your ideal client, and then start speaking to that person in your messaging, in your videos. And I think one of the biggest things that's hard for me too is like people want to see the behind the scenes. They want to know, they really want to know you. And so to start sharing more, because like I really like my alone time. I like my time away from technology. Like for example, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. every day, my phone is on airplane mode in the kitchen. I don't touch it. And that's like, I need that sanity because my sleep is so important. And I have like a morning routine, an evening routine. So I like my time away from phone. But if I want to be getting content, like that's such good content. I'm like, hey, I'm doing my light therapy. I'm doing my skincare routine, you know? So it's like, how do we balance it all? I don't want to live on my cell phone, but I also want to like build a brand because I want to be able to help more people live a life that's true to them and that feels good.
Maybe how about like 1 weekend a month? You can create all the content that will sustain the whole month.
Yeah, like batching content I think is so important, where you do films for like 3 days straight and then you save it. It's exhausting to produce a ton of content daily where you don't have a plan. So that's something to step up, is like do a calendar, like, okay, on Mondays, or film for 3 days, then map it out across 30 days. And then you don't have to think so much about it every single day.
Yes. And I actually started that in January of this year. I started scheduling everything ahead for 30 days. I spent a whole weekend editing, scheduling, all that for the whole week. And that is why a lot of the times whenever a lot of people want to collab with me, I can't accept it because my schedule is already... So I have my greed, and my greed has to have a quote in the middle. You cannot check out my greed.
You know what? I've kind of released the grip on like it has to look so perfect aesthetically, because I think with the algorithms now they want frequency. The more you post, the better. And so you kind of have to like let go of it looking perfect, with the realization of like the algorithm helping more people and just sharing.
Yeah, it's hard to do it all because
it is.
Yeah, you can't also look good, but also to try to, and also it's like,
yeah, it is. But for like my mentor and like my inspo for personal branding and for layout and for aesthetic, the whole thing, check out Emily Ford. And then another amazing social media strategist is Julia Broom. Pretty sure that's her name. She gives such amazing tips.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like to look at the, get other ideas and
look at what the experts are doing.
Yeah. And what are your wellness? You mentioned wellness routine. What would be your wellness routine?
I mean, I like to focus on three areas. The sleep. I recently went to Brian Johnson's Don't Die Summit in LA. He's the most measured human on earth. He said we all have to become professional sleepers. Sleep is the foundation of life. And so he recommends having a consistent bedtime, say where we go to bed at 9 p.m. every night and we wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. And like every day that should be pretty close to the same, because then our bodies will naturally fall asleep exactly at that time. His is 8:30. He says he falls asleep within 1 minute of 8:30 every single day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so for me, with sleep the priority, what I did was I at one point took caffeine completely out of my diet because I wanted to ensure I was getting a really good night's sleep. And I realized my body's sensitive to caffeine. Another thing that helps with your sleep is avoiding alcohol. Alcohol can really impact your sleep, even if you feel like it doesn't. I have my Aura ring here, which gives me sleep stats. Your sleep, you aren't getting the same REM and deep sleep, even if you have one glass of alcohol.
Whoa.
So alcohol and caffeine and then a proper wind down period can really help with your sleep. So like your day starts the night before with how well you sleep. So number 1 is sleep. Number 2 is movement. Every day I aim for 30 minutes of movement at least. I love weight training. I go to a place called Revel in San Diego. It's similar to Barry's boot camp, where I lift weights for 50 minutes. and it feels like I'm in a nightclub. And so I'm like so hyped up and you can feel the energy. I was there this morning at 7 a.m. I love starting the day with movement and working on my body because I'm like, after I work out and lift weights for an hour, everything else feels easy throughout the day. Like I've already done the hardest thing. Like bring it on. We already worked out. We're already feeling good. So we have the sleep, we have the movement, and then it's nutrition. Like, how am I nourishing myself? I said earlier, I studied at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition online program for anyone who's interested in becoming a health and wellness coach. That was a great program. It teaches you how to nourish yourself from the inside out. So like, what are you eating? What are you putting in your body? Our gut microbiome communicates with our brain and our mind. So food can influence how you're thinking about yourself. So what are you putting into your body? So those three things are a big part of my wellness routine. But again, I like to say you have to find what works for you. Like maybe weights aren't right for you, but you love yoga or I love a nature walk outside listening to some Joe Dispenza. Big on meditation. I start my day with some meditation to observe my thoughts in front of a red light therapy panel. I like the warmth of that. I love what it's doing for my skin. It helps with inflammation. And they say it can even help with anxiety and depression. And I'm in that process doing my meditation, I'm visualizing the future I want to create for myself. And then I'm doing positive affirmations, which are I am statements. I am love, I am light, I am abundant, I am worthy, and I attract everything I desire. And so I'm programming my subconscious mind for the essentially like the experiences that I want to create in my life and the human that I desire to be.
That's awesome. I love that. And whenever you go on these walks and you listen to music, you meditate and you do all that, do you feel like some type of like a wave of energy? I always feel like, and then it's just like gets super warm. Do you feel like that too?
Yeah. I mean, I live in San Diego, which I love because it's normally like 70 and sunny. And that makes a difference. Like when I'm walking under the trees, there's sunlight hitting me. I'm listening to an enlightening message. I'm just like, I feel amazing. I love it. I totally love it. And I recently got a puppy named Ziggy. And so he gets to come with me now. And I'm like, this feels like heaven to me, like moments like that. And I think so many of us are like, okay, I can't wait to like go to heaven. But it's like, make your life feel like heaven now.
Yes, I do feel like you have a perfect life. And how can we create the life of our dreams?
So I would say, like, what is the life that you want? You have to get really clear on the vision. What is it that you want? Do you want to travel? Do you want to open a business? Do you want to start a family? Do you want to make X amount of money? Like, do you want to be an artist? Like, what do you want? And so many of us are like walking around on autopilot, fearing the future, regretting the past. Get really clear on what you want. Write it down. When we write it down, we're 42% more likely to achieve our goals just by writing them down. So write down what your vision is, get really clear on the vision. And then I would say break it down into steps. Like what's one step you can take today that gets you on the path of working towards the goal you have for yourself? Action is such an important step. Like take action. You can't just sit around and wait for this life to come to you. You have to create it. You have to earn it. You have to be really disciplined. Like you may have to give up things that aren't serving you, like the late nights at the nightclub or the toxic relationship. You know what I mean? Who do you have to become to be able to achieve that life? And so much of that is focusing in on your frequency. Like, what is your energy? Are you hardworking? Are you determined? Are you like prioritizing your taking really good care of yourself? Because if you're vibrating at a low frequency, you're not going to align with that potential that already exists in the energetic field that you have a vision for. So you have to become the person who is capable of aligning with that reality that you seek.
And a lot of people these days, I think it's partially social media and all these other things that everything is moving so fast. So they might want to do a lot more things than they can. Maybe that's why they can't figure out what it is that they want, because they're so all over the place. They're scattered. They want to do all these things. They're interested in a million things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just focus on one thing a year. Like my goal this year is to make this amount of money to do these things, these top three, whatever specific things. And then have maybe a 10-year goal. Like for example, in 10 years, I want to get into politics. But for me to get into politics, I want to have a certain amount of money, because I don't want to, when you're broke in politics, then they're going to jerk you around. So it's like, I do have a long-term plan, but to get there, you also have to remember you can't just share any old information about you now that could hurt you 10 years from now. So you have to be very careful, very strategic about keeping all these things in consideration.
Yeah, I think, what, to your point, Kat, like what we're saying is it's important to get really clear on what your vision is for yourself, not just today, not just in the next year, but like do like a 1 year plan, a 5 year plan, a 10 year plan, and you'd be blown away by like how much becomes possible when you get really clear on what it is that you want and you write it down and you start working towards that plan. Like, what do you want to do in this lifetime? We have one life. This life is such a gift. What are you going to do with it? Because I want to see what you're capable of, don't you?
Yeah.
And when you speak it, like when you share it, it's so empowering.
Yes. But sometimes we're afraid to share too much because we don't want, what Christian would say, the devil to take over and ruin your plans, or that others would say the evil eye or the jealousy. So it's kind of like, do you share? Because you haven't shared about Field Studio until it got done.
Hey, it's not done yet. I'm in it now. We're in what will be my podcast studio. I'm opening a wellness sanctuary that will open probably will already be open by the time this episode airs. I used to be someone that kept more things to myself. Like I wasn't a big sharer. What I've learned as a podcaster is like, I need to share who I am. That's how I really relate with my guests. I need to be vulnerable. You would be blown away by how many people stepped up wanting to help me make this dream a reality when I started to share it. It's like angels appeared, miracles appeared every day of people who could help me like get this office and wellness center ready. And so like I think a lot of it is sharing it with the right people. And I think people feel so much more included and excited about your life when they know what you're working on, when they know more about you. So I don't think we always need to hold on to things so tightly. I really don't.
And tell me more about the wellness studio.
Sure. So it's been like this career trajectory of mine. I mean, starting with the health and wellness coaching, the life coaching, the psychology master's program, the TED Talk, the podcast. I was like, I want to help as many people as possible elevate their frequency and work on their mindset. And so I was in San Diego and I was like, okay, you can go to Equinox or a workout class to work on your body. You can go to Sweet Green or somewhere healthy to eat a salad. Like, where can you go to work on your mindset? And I believe so much, like, yes, you can be an online coach. I can, help a lot of people who maybe aren't in San Diego, but I really wanted to create a space here where individuals can come to work on their mindset, to work on themselves, to learn healthier habits, to learn how to activate their highest potential. And so I've created a space in San Diego. It's in Rancho Santa Fe, which is in North County. And it is my wellness sanctuary. And there are going to be things like red light therapy, sound healing, guided meditation. It will also be the podcast studio. And I just want to create a space where individuals are excited to go work on their mindset.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I love the site. I'm coming.
Yes, you are.
When you have, I could totally see what my envision, like what I think Tony, the Robbins guy, Tony Robbins, come there, very intimate setting, people which he just, speaks and gives all this great advice. Guests like that, were you thinking
I mean,
maybe?
That's my vision. That's my goal is to have, I would like, not like Sunday sessions, like where on Sundays there's movement, there's a thought leader giving a speech or a talk and walking people through like a workshop. All of these things I can see the brand expanding in so many different ways, but I just want it to be a home for transformation.
Amazing.
And healing and feeling good. Like we all want to feel good. And the more I learn, like when feeling good is the priority, like you attract so much more into your life when you show up and you've done that work to make yourself feel good.
Yeah.
And it's an inside job. Don't wait for someone else to make you feel good. Like you can feel good now, like start, maybe you cook a healthy meal. Maybe you go on a walk outside and sit in nature. Maybe you meditate. Maybe you work out. Maybe you call a friend you love. Like there's so many different ways to feel good in this moment. And so to start making that a priority is so important.
Yeah, it is. And, depression is such a big, and it's increasing a lot. How do you what is the advice you would give? Because you're so full of life, you're so inspirational. I love your soul. Very, very wise. How say you're sitting next to a depressed person, what would be your first two sentences that you would tell them?
I want to go back to a moment where I feel like I was depressed. And in the moment, like, I don't even know if I realized that it actually was depression. And I would call it depression. I was experiencing neurological symptoms from the traumatic brain injury, and I couldn't find an answer for what was happening. And I was really resisting my reality. And I was like, why me? Woe is me, victim mindset, which is so easy to get in. And I read a book that changed my life. And it was The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And the essence of that book was essentially like, it's up to you to either enjoy life or continue being bothered by it. We're spinning around on like a rock in the middle of outer space, and we're upset that maybe someone we like doesn't like us back, or like, that our package didn't get delivered today, or that this job didn't work out. Like, there's such a much bigger picture for like our experience to be alive, and we got caught up on the littlest things that are completely out of our control, and we're wasting the essence of like what it means to be human, caught up in all these little melodramas. Like, let it go. How do you want to feel? I'd ask, like, how do you want to feel? And let's start like working towards making decisions that are in alignment with that, as opposed to sitting in depression. And I understand that like sometimes it's a lot harder than that to just get out of it. But when I put that into perspective, I was like, we're spinning around in the middle of a rock in the middle of outer space. We get this opportunity to be alive, and that is a really low frequency. Like, we are the sperm and egg that like made it. So I want to make the most of this. I want to see what is possible in my lifetime. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't remember who said it, but if you look at life from far away, it's a comedy. But whenever you zoom in and you look too closely, it's a tragedy. Like, we're so focused on such that if you were to zoom that out, they're so small. They're not even worth. They're like, what am I doing?
And I think we get so attached to like the highs and the lows, and we're so quick to like label something as good or bad. Just let it be like information. Just let it move, let the energy move through you, let it be information, and then like continue on with your day. But we're so caught up on something that happened like 2 weeks ago that we're missing this moment here, which is a totally new moment. And there's actually something I heard recently. It's that our memory is only 50% accurate. So like, we're living by a story that's not even true. Yeah, and we like get addicted to like the drama and the pain of it, and we like to share it because people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened to you. No way." And then you're like, "Wow, this is a really good story. Let me keep telling it. It's getting attention." But it's like, it's keeping you stuck.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. And another thing, I mean, not to add negativity in the moment, it's such a powerful, beautiful moment. When it just kind of, it was a great reminder, sad moment, but a great reminder at my friend's funeral last week. I realized, I was like, nobody cared. He was an engineer with the Martin, what's that called? The Lucky Heat. He was all these great accomplishments, all these achievements, all these like degrees. But at the end of the day, at the funeral, there were so many people that showed up because of all the good deeds that he did that nobody, like, there was this Colombian lady, and I was like, who are you? And she's like, well, he gave me $20,000 and helped me with this. And nobody knew. And all these great things. Instead of focusing on negative stuff, why don't you just do good deeds that would actually.
Oh my gosh. One of the quickest ways to feel better about yourself is to help someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You are
be of
so right.
service. It's not about you,
It
like,
is
go, how
not.
can I help someone else through their struggle? And then you're going to feel better. Like, I think so many people are often afraid to ask for help, but like, ask for help, whether it's someone else or whether it's God, energy, source, whatever you believe you're co-creating with the universe. Ask for help. Get on your knees and pray, or communicate with spirit or energy, or call a friend. Like, help is available to you in every moment. You're not alone. And so often we think like our story is so unique. No one will understand me. No one has been through this. Like, no, come on.
Yeah, exactly. I can guarantee there are worse stories out there.
And there's always going to be someone who has more than you. There's always someone who's going to have less than you. And so be grateful for what you do have. And Kat, to what you're saying, like, pay attention to how your environment is causing you to feel. Whether it's the place you're spending much of your time, whether it's the people you're surrounding yourself with, pay attention to that, because you know what it feels like when you're in a really peaceful place where you're like, I feel good in this room. I feel good around this person. Like you need to pay attention to that, because that can really impact like your life.
Yes. Yeah. That is real. Energy, you got to be very careful who you're surrounding yourself, because that is actually, it's very real. Energy exchange. I completely agree.
And so what is important here is that you're around individuals who have a growth mindset, who see opportunities as opposed to limitations.
Right. Yes. Oh gosh, yeah. And unfortunately, I think the majority of the world, I mean, a high percentage would see, unfortunately, they're on the negative side. They'll see
And
less.
again, that could be stemming from their childhood. It doesn't have to be completely their fault. What could be their fault is them not choosing to do the work to open their mind, to be more optimistic, to be of service.
Right. And that's, I think that would be one of the most important steps would be doing the work. For you to heal is helping others heal. So maybe they don't know what to do to heal. Maybe they're
They
like,
don't know where to start. It can be
yeah.
overwhelming. And people sometimes think like, oh, woo woo, like spiritual, blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm telling you, it can really change your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I obviously, I'm Christian, but if I don't read a chapter of the Bible before I go to sleep, I do not sleep well. Like I'll have nightmares, I sleep like trash, I wake up.
Yeah.
It's not good. So I do believe in that, whatever, that connection to the divine, you need to have that.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it. If you want to meditate, if you want to do yoga, but you need that moment, that.
For me, I love journaling before I go to bed at night. Gratitude, 3 things at least that happened that day that I'm grateful for, and perhaps something that's weighing heavily on my mind. Like, let me get it out of my mind and onto paper so that I can sleep better. And all of this that we're talking about, it really is ultimately like again, taking care of you and forming a relationship with yourself, the human being that you are responsible for this lifetime.
Yeah. So it's basically take care of the baby that's inside of you.
Yeah. And how would you talk to that person? Like, would you tell them like, terrible job today, you can't do this, you're no good? Or do you want to say like, wow, thank you for showing up today, I love you, we've been through a lot. Like, so many things have happened. We can do anything going forward. We've made it through adversity.
I love that.
Be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah. Yeah. And I met some people and they were like, how can I talk to myself? I'm not schizophrenic. I'm like, no, it's not like that. Because when there are 2 people talking, there are actually 6. The one who's talking, the one who's perceived by whomever's listening, and the one that's inside yourself, that voice that tells you, don't do that, don't do the subconscious or the Holy Spirit or however you want to call it. So you got to be deeper than that. And they're like, what?
Or they'll like try it once and be like, oh, didn't notice anything. Like, this needs to be a consistent practice. You don't sit down in meditation once for the first time and like always have a life-changing experience. Like, this takes time. It takes consistency. It's a practice. It's just like a muscle at the gym. Your mindset can be strengthened with like consistent repetition, but you have to be committed to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Consistency. You mentioned the book, and what was it again? I want to make sure I'm writing it down.
Yes. The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer.
I'm pretty sure we have it, because if it's a popular book, my husband is a reader. He reads at least 5 books a week. He's like one of those. I'm exaggerating, but at least 2 for sure. Okay, so I'm putting it down. And what would be a podcast that
I love, so, stemming from the neuroscience, I would say Huberman Lab with Andrew Huberman, or I would say the Mel Robbins podcast.
Really?
So I just read her book, The Let Them Theory, and it's one of the best books I have read. And the essence of the book is that let adults be adults and stop trying to control adults and let them be them. And then you get to decide. Let them do what they're going to do, and then let me decide what I'm going to do about it instead of trying to control everyone outside of you. And what that ultimately is saying is like pause between stimulus and response. We're so reactive. We're so trying to control everything. Take your power back. Pause and take your power back and decide how you want to respond. And let others be them. Like, stop trying to control people. So she has a lot of, her show is just ranked #1 podcast.
Yeah, I noticed that. I
Yeah.
was like, and I just can't. When I hear her voice, I'm like, I cringe. It's something about her voice. If for me, it has to like the voice. I have to
Yeah,
be
the
able
voice
to.
is important. I just like her message. I think it's like relatable. I think she's real. I think she's authentic. And I think she's done this for a long time. And so I'm inspired by where her career has taken her.
What is she, a doctor or
No,
what is her?
I mean, I think she's just, I don't know if she was on the radio or on TV or what, but she's just spoken, I think, on personal development for over a decade. And so she has really good guests on her show.
Okay. In a way, that's actually pretty inspiring,
Yeah.
for somebody that doesn't have a degree, but they
Yeah.
can still do it. They can still, as long
So
as.
if you're looking for the degree, if you're looking for the science, go to Andrew Huberman Lab. If you're looking for real life
Wisdom.
stories, wisdom, and she has all the doctors and all the thought leaders on her show, go to Mel Robbins' podcast. Another amazing show is Skinny Confidential. Is it TSC Him and Her show? Because it's a good one. Lauren Everts Bostic it's a husband and wife. She's like a lifestyle blogger extraordinaire, and he's an entrepreneur, and they come together and they've had the show live for I feel like almost a decade, and they have amazing guests on as well.
Nice. I'll
Yeah.
check that out. Thank you. Yeah, I love, checking out new things, and that's awesome. How about the TEDx? You mentioned well, I've watched actually, it was brilliant. Even though recently TEDx, how kind of a lot of the latest TEDx talks, they went a weird route. So I stopped watching. But back then when TEDx was like I used to watch it religiously. How, maybe if they come back, if somebody was interested in being on TEDx, what is the process like? How do you get on there?
Sure. So it's not like you can just go to the main TEDx website and apply. There's like you kind of almost have to go through the back door of it. If you go to TEDx, they list their live events, and so you can find an event. And then what I would do is I would find the host of that event, because oftentimes the application link isn't online. Even if you Google, say you go to the main TEDx site, you find that TEDx event, you Google that event, you find that events page. If there's not a place to apply, look at who the host of that event is. And then I would contact them directly through LinkedIn, through social media. You can find their email. And essentially, what I would have is like what you want to title your talk, the main idea of your talk, maybe 3 paragraphs on what the talk is about, and then why you. Like, why should you be a TEDx speaker? So that's the approach I would take to apply for TEDx.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I know there's a TEDx in Ogden, Utah.
Yeah. Oftentimes in this community we're in, Kat, like we'll know people who have connections to people who are hosting an event. And then you get to either maybe they'll send you an application link and you can apply. So I think I would reach out to individuals you may know who may be connected, do some research. And again, why you?
Right, right,
Why
right.
now? Why you? Each TEDx event normally has a theme. So one could be technology and innovation. And if you're a life coach, that may not make sense for you to speak at that event. So find an event that aligns with what your topic is.
And the ultimate goal that yeah. What are you trying to get out of speaking on TEDx?
Why you? Why now? What's the message?
Thank you. That's amazing advice. And I want to get into some quick fun questions.
Sure, let's go.
We still have a few minutes.
Let's have some fun.
Yes, I love it. What if your last text became your life motto? How screwed up are you?
Oh my gosh, can we look at my last text message? I wish it was really juicy, but I think it was like okay. I just said directly outside, and it was actually a video of a tree being cut down outside of the recording here, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, here we go."
It just says
So
directly outside.
if my life motto is directly outside, I don't know. Take what you will from that.
Oh, no.
It could be worse. It could be worse. It could be way worse. Yeah. Directly outside. I don't even know what that means. I don't know. Think here. It could mean like think outside the box. Think outside the box. There we go.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That could be directly,
Yeah.
You're writing your autobiography. What's the title?
Oh my gosh, this is an important question, Kat.
Yeah.
I want it to be something like you can do anything, or like the like you can do anything you set your mind to, or pain to purpose, or life is a gift. Like these are all things that are coming to mind.
That's beautiful. Life is a gift. Nice. Wow. That is beautiful. And you're quick on your feet with these
Oh my
answers. That's
gosh.
pretty tough.
Hey, they say something that's important is to be quick at making decisions.
Yes, very. Especially like imagine if you're in a war and you're out there like,
Yeah.
hey, where do I go? The worst thing to do is just stand still. You gotta go, even if just
You
make a
have to
decision.
move and like make a decision and then make a different decision if that decision wasn't the right one, but like make a decision.
Yeah, you gotta move. You gotta keep it moving. Don't start shooting at you gotta. If you could make a 2-minute phone call to yourself at any point in your life, present or future, what would you call? When would you call and what would you say?
I mean, how would I know when I would call? I would just say, like, if I ever needed a reminder, I would just like call myself in the future or in the past and just say, like, good job, and give myself a pep talk on like all the hardest moments of my life and like how I overcame them as a reminder to like keep going and to not stay stuck and to like keep going forward, because the most difficult moments in my life have brought on like the most amazing moments of my life. And if it weren't for those hard times, if it weren't for those struggles, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. Like they gave me a story to tell. They gave me wisdom. They gave me learning. They like taught me so much about what it means to be human. So for anyone who's running from the hard part, like lean into it. See what it's there to teach you.
You have to relive one day of your life forever. Which one would you choose?
My gosh. I'm going to go with the first day of opening this. It hasn't even happened yet. Can that be true?
Yeah?
It's going to be the day I have the opening event and like launch this office into the universe, which will probably be next month.
I have goosebumps. What?
This is like my baby cat, you know. It's like again like bringing a dream I have to reality, and to me that's like what brings me the most joy in life.
It's amazing. And the possibilities and the things are going to be endless for
And
you.
sharing it with the world, and again it's like the goal of helping others feel better about themselves and about their life so they can actualize their potential in this one life that we have, that we at least know of.
Yeah. 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 I'm so excited for you. Like I cannot wait to go to San Diego.
Get over here. You're not very far. I'll pick you up at the airport, but you'll probably just drive here.
Yeah, I would drive.
Yeah.
That's yeah, I'm planning on sometime in April or May.
Yeah, we were talking for our listeners. I invited Kat to be on my show, the Fields Well podcast, and we're finding a time. And I said, why don't we just do it in person when you come down to San Diego?
Yeah, that would be amazing, actually. Yeah. Well, I have 2 more questions before we wrap it up. If you could call up anyone in the world and have a 1-hour conversation, who would you call?
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
What would you ask him?
If you could, I would literally say, like, if you could talk to me for 1 hour about something that you would think would like open my mind the most or completely transform humanity, what would it be? And he talks so much about mindset. What he talks about is combining a clear intention with an elevated emotion, much of which we talked about. But he's just a brilliant man who talks a lot about neuroscience. So he's one of my biggest mentors.
Amazing, yes.
Go watch his show Rewired on Gaia Network if you're listening.
Rewired. I think I did. Yes, I watched it.
So good.
I watched it, yes. He actually, didn't he write a book, or at least
he's written many books. He's written many books. I wish he had a podcast. I don't think he has a podcast, but he hosts retreats, and I want to go to one of his retreats in July of this year.
Wow, nice. Out here in the States?
It's in Denver. He's hosting a couple. He has one in LA. He has like a weekend one in LA in a couple of weeks. He has a couple in Cancun. He has some in Florida. I want to go to this one in Denver in July.
Very cool. Let me know how that is. Yes, we'll have to share that experience. And if you could have one useless superpower, what would it be?
Useless?
Useless?
What is it? How do the words useless and superpower go together?
Exactly.
I mean, my superpower, I feel like I would want it would want to be something like flying or like healing people instantly, you know what I mean? Like, but these aren't useless.
Mad
So I guess
useless,
I
yeah.
kind of that's I don't know, I'm not gonna those those are what come to mind. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, some people might call, flying useless. That's not how
Yeah.
things
How do
are.
we define useless?
Exactly. Yeah, that's subjective. Yeah, so that's amazing. Is there any question you wish I had asked?
I think you did an incredible job, Kat. I'm so grateful to have been a part of the show. And I'm so grateful to know you.
Oh my goodness, you tell me. I am always so happy to hear from you and so inspired by you, and I love what you're doing, and I can't wait to see. Oh my goodness, your future is bright, girly. I know it.
Thank you, hun. Thank
Yes,
you for having me.
thank you. And I will actually, well, I'll stop this here. Thank you, guys.